120 seconds. 110 seconds. 100 seconds. 90 seconds. 80 seconds. 70 seconds. 60 seconds. 50 seconds. 40 seconds. 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, once again, it is indeed time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J. Stan McCauley, along with Jonathan Small this morning. Good morning, Mr. Jonathan Small. How you doing there, sir?
Doing fine, Stan. It's a pleasure to be back here. It's been a while. It seems like it's been a while.
It has. It has been a long while. We get Jonathan framed up. He always floats. There you go.
Okay. So
how you been?
Hey, I'm doing fine. It's a nice autumn day. It's good to be back here at the studio. And I pretty much think the last time I saw you technically here was Labor Day, and I think the last time I saw you physically was last week at the election.
Last week, yeah. Where were we out with the? Where were we? Rawson School.
Rawson School, and you said it was cold. You kept talking about how cold it was.
It was cold. It was cold. It was cold. It must have been in the morning.
Nah.
No, was it night?
At night.
Night. It was cold. It got cold. It was a good day, but I mean, it got cold that night. Yeah.
Well, I dressed it appropriately. I made sure I had on warm pants and I think a long sleeve shirt. I think he was wearing like slack pants and maybe a thin shirt. He wasn't really dressed warm. I mean, dressed properly, I thought.
I had on pants from like a suit type thing, slacks. It was cold though. I didn't have on like a turtleneck or something like that. Sweater. Right. Yeah. Jacket, but not warm. Yeah.
The day caught people off guard a little bit because it was so warm. I think like it was in the 60s that day.
It was a beautiful day. It was a great day for being outside and stuff like that. So, yeah, good day.
Right.
I thought it started off a little rainy, but by noon, crystal clear sky. Beautiful.
Outside wearing a short sleeve shirt and everything.
So what's been happening in Jonathan's world the last couple of months?
Still working. The airport a little bit slow right now, but I guess around Thanksgiving things are going to start to pick up. And I don't know if you want to say moonlighting, doing a little bit of shows here off the side, off the network. But that's not moonlighting. Moonlighting is when you have a job and you work.
Moonlight is when you working two places at the same time. Like Burger King and McDonald's.
Right.
You're working at both places across the street from one another. I'll be right back. I gotta run across the street a hot second. I'll be back.
Well, truthfully, I was not directly involved. I know we had a big election, and I was not directly involved in your campaign. I was trying to be somewhat directly involved, if that makes any sense. And I was making some referrals to Joe Markley. I think you and Joe Markley actually met.
I think you were a pundit. That's not like being involved in a campaign.
Right. Well, you see, I'm going to tell you the honest truth. I am interested in the campaign, but not excited about the campaign.
Right. You're not a part of the campaign.
No.
You know what? Politics is a lot like sports. People like Steelers fans, Patriots fans, Cowboy Dallas fans. The fans have nothing to do with the game at all. They just watch.
Right.
They root on their team. They talk about why their team is not going to be a good team this year, and they not maybe get win 2 games out of 8. This, that, and the third. But they're not on the battlefield. They're not taking part in the actual game.
Yeah, I think the only your campaign I was involved with in 2011. I might have went with you door knocking.
I think you did door knocking. We did door hangers and flyers and out on the campaign trail. If you're not on the campaign trail, knocking doors, making phone calls, raising money, actively engaged in trying to get the candidate elected, then you're not part of the campaign.
You're not part of the campaign.
No. So
even I guess you and Joe Markley just met just to have a general conversation.
Well, Joe and I talk. Yeah. That he's not. He by no means was Joe Markley part of the campaign. No.
Well, he can't even vote in Hartford anyway. He's not a Hartford resident.
You don't have to be a resident to be part of a campaign.
Right, that's true.
Right. There's a lot of people part of the presidential campaign. They don't live in Washington, D.C. Right. Of course, you in theory vote for your president all over the country.
Well, I mean, this is kind of a trick question. And would it be better to have people just vote, the registered voters vote, more than people involved with your campaign? Wouldn't the biggest solution be just to get the residents to vote and obviously vote for you? Wouldn't that be the grand slam?
We're gonna have on Tuesday mornings. We have an offering called Civic Beat. And so on Tuesday mornings, and my wife does the program. We're gonna do. In fact, we have a whole new lineup for the network. Tuesdays. I'll only gonna be broadcasting on Tuesdays, one day a week. Well, that's not true. 2 days a week, because Sunday morning I'm gonna do light source radio television. But we're gonna be broadcasting 1 day a week. So at 8:00 Tuesday is gonna be Civic Beat. Then at 8:30. No, 8 to 8:30. 9 o'clock is Morning Talk. And the first half is going to be Cleo. Second half is going to be you. Then at 11 o'clock, we're going to do either All About You or Face to Face with you. And the Civic Beat is designed to give people civics lessons. Up people's awareness and knowledge on things of a civic nature. Now, a campaign is just that. It's a campaign. It's like an advertising campaign.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
All right.
It's an advertising campaign for an event that takes place for 12 or 14 hours from 6 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
One day. It's just the event happens on one day, election day.
Mm-hmm.
The campaign is to make people aware of the election.
Mm-hmm.
It would be better for people to come out and vote, but they don't. And that's just a fact.
All right.
It's just like saying, well, people don't shop at, at Ocean State.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do to make them shop at Ocean State? Give them something they want to buy at Ocean State. This is not rocket science. Or make them aware that Ocean State has a product. That's all it is. And there's this notion that people somehow have to vote. No, they don't have to vote. They vote for what they want to vote for, or they're satisfied. You can't make people shop. They're shopping for candidates.
I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to put my own personal situation, how I handle this particular process. And I've said this before on Morning Talk Live with J. Stan McCauley Talk Show. You should go to the polls and vote. Go through the process like I would do. I go, sign, give the people my photo ID, show that I came down here to vote. Mm-hmm. I go inside that voting box, a voting poll.
Pull your mic up.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't see any particular candidate that I'm interested in voting for. So maybe there's no slot that you can just slide down and say vote X.
Leave it empty.
Leave it empty. That's what I'm just about to say. I came to vote. I didn't see anybody that I wanted to vote for, and I left. And then I take that little envelope, fold it up, give it or slide it in a voting box, whatever that they call it. Mm-hmm. At least now I'm going to still be classified as a registered person that came out to vote. Now my vote obviously is not going to go for any particular. I don't know if that's exactly how the process is set up.
Well, then let's say you were one of those people. Let's say you went and you didn't vote for a mayor. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you didn't vote. I know that you voted for somebody.
I'm just going to say that.
Right. But 15% of the people who voted in the last election did not cast a vote for mayor.
For mayor.
They didn't see, either they didn't see anyone they wanted to vote for, or they didn't turn the ballot over. I don't know, but they left it empty. They were not satisfied with anyone running, and that's fair. The public speaks. What happens is the people who are political, the politicos, the political class, the elected class, they live and die by those votes. The rest of the people don't. They go to work, they come home, they pay their taxes, they have a beer on Friday, take the family out over the weekend, go on vacations. They're actually living their lives. Their lives are not around politics. Though the decisions that happen in their lives are political decisions, their lives aren't mired in the political people and who's elected, no more than their lives are mired by who the Hollywood superstars are, who actors are, even though they watch television shows, they go to the movies, and these actors actually have a great impact on how they perceive things in life. But they don't care about them. They care about their own lives. And so if someone goes into the voting booth and doesn't see anyone that they recognize or know, then they are totally uninformed.
Right. Because
you should know when you go in the booth what you want to do as far as a candidate. If you don't, then the candidate has failed to connect with you and their message. It's just like people don't go to the store and take advantage of super sale where you get an iPhone for $20. Had they known, they just showed up and got the latest iPhone for $20, but they didn't know.
Right.
And so there's a lot of people who just don't know about the election process. They're tuned out. They don't want anything to do with politics. You go out door knocking, people tell you that. I'm not involved. I hate politics and politicians. Slam the door in your face. And they go on. So this is the result of us not having civics in schools anymore. We don't teach civics. We don't teach civic responsibility or civic duty.
Right.
And it doesn't take long before folks tune out. 10 to 20 years. And 10 years is a cycle of 10 years is less than kindergarten to 12th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So in the whole cycle of your kindergarten or graduating school, that whole class of people by the millions are disengaged in a political process.
Right.
You do that twice in 20 years, you have people who have no idea even how the electoral process works. And these things in the short run benefit those who are already in power, but in the long run, it disenfranchises the electorate from the system of governance that keeps them and their cities and towns running. It's a devastating event.
So you're saying really it's more about civic education and registered voters not seeing any particular candidate that interests them, see any particular factor of the candidates, and even the whole voting structure system towards being relevant towards their lives. And they just decide that it's not to their best interest, or they don't need
Then it's not
to
relevant.
go vote.
Right.
But I look at it a little bit differently. I was told there's going to be 3 classes of people in the voting process.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get one class of people that's going to vote all the time, regardless.
They understand the value of voting,
Right.
and what it does.
But even if they're having a bad day, they don't really feel like I'm saying I'm not excited, but I'm interested. So, maybe 4 years ago, I was more highly excited about a particular mayoral election. 8 years ago, now I'm not, but I'm still interested enough to realize that I need to do my civic duty and go vote.
Right.
You're gonna have another group of people that's never gonna vote. They just don't believe in the voting process.
Right.
I don't know how you can be a registered voter and really fall into that trap or fall in that mindset.
When you finish, I'll tell you.
Okay. Then you're gonna have another groups of people, and this might be a bigger percentage than what people think. It depends on how they feel. If they feel like they are interested, they really have nothing to do, they just will go to the polls. If they're having something bad day, they got busy or they distracted, then they just decided that they're not going to vote. And when you combine those numbers, and I don't know what happened in Hartford when in 1981 when Thurman Milner, the former mayor, became mayor of Hartford, you had about 25,000 plus registered voters that voted. I think people were more excited, they were more engaged.
Well, I think that's pretty obvious. First time
Right.
you have a black man running in New England for mayor in Hartford. So
Right.
yeah, people came out.
They came out.
That's not that deep.
That's not that deep. So that's. But is that a reflection of a good thing? Obviously, when people.
It's not good or bad. It just is. Everything isn't good or bad. Some things just are.
So people turning out.
Those
to
people are
vote.
probably those folk in the middle that you were talking about. Here's an opportunity to go make a difference. They were into the moment, and they ran out, and they did it.
Okay.
And the phrase was, well, why not Thurman? Yeah, well, I'm going down there and vote for my man.
Right.
He's a black man. This is the first time it's going to be a black mayor in Hartford. It's somewhat historic. People are very excited. The time in human history, not too far from the 60s, 70s. So these things happen because of the social construct of the time. All right? Now, nothing much has changed since the last couple of years. You mentioned a couple of dates. Now we're where we are now. The candidates aren't that exciting. People might like Stan, but Stan's run for the 4th time. I mean, he didn't win before. He's not going to win now.
Right.
I like him. I wish he could win, but he doesn't have the wind be behind the sail.
Right.
And I'll vote for him because he's my man. But other than that, boom. You got the new guy on the block. He's young. He's new. He's not been in Hartford for very long. People wonder, like, how did he get here? Did he jump off a balloon and just land in Hartford? And so now people are like, I'm not too excited about that. The other candidate's been around a long time. Seems they should be retiring, not running. And so folk are they're not really excited about this.
Mm-hmm.
They already know that the party is very difficult to beat. Donald Duck could run on line A and win.
And win.
Because the party wants to win. Right? Because it's bigger than the local. There's a whole apparatus involved. So the people who understand politics and what politics does and is they come out and vote because they know that this is how all of the pieces of the puzzle, all the parts of the machine, all the parts of the engine work. The folks who are disengaged are going to stay home. Now, you talked about, well, how could people be registered and not vote? Easy. Because every election that people run out and they register folks, like because you're registered, somehow a magic potion happens and you have to vote because you're registered.
Right.
No, I have to register to get you out my face. And I'm walking down the street, you want me to register, you won't get up off my back. Where do I sign? And you go about your business and you forgot you even registered.
Right.
You have no idea who's running. You have no idea where the polls are. You're not interested in voting. Otherwise, you'd have gone down to City Hall and registered on your own.
Yes.
So just because there's registered voters doesn't mean there's interested voters.
That's an excellent observation and an excellent assessment.
Thank you.
I never really looked at it totally like that. I'm just looking at the fact that people are registered voters and they just are dissatisfied, although that's part of the process or part of the problem. And then you outline, how people look even at yourself, as a candidate running. And I don't know if you look at it when you're running, this is the fourth time. Are you looking at this as a challenge, as just a problem that I got to deal with, trying to get?
I run because I think that I can offer something. And if I don't run, shame on me for not trying. And also to encourage other people to run.
Right.
All right. I'm not delusional, but it costs money to run too. I spent some money.
Yeah.
We spent some money. I tell you right now, we spent our own money.
Own personal. Okay.
Right. So, but it's worth it. I mean, what's the big deal? We make a movie every summer or a play. It's the cost of what you do for fun. Vacation, people go vacations, whatever the case is. We spend ours either making movies or running for office. But this time offered an opportunity to run that was unique because there was no incumbent. But the incumbent is the party.
Okay.
It may not be a person, but it's the party. And the party members want to win. Okay, so there are ways to actually win. But in a town like Hartford, there aren't enough people who actually want to come out of the stands where they eat popcorn and buy hot dogs and watch the game and actually get on the field.
Yeah.
If people had to go to a football game and get on the field and actually catch the ball and be tackled, there would be no game.
No game. They don't want to.
Because they don't want to get dirty. They want to be, finely dressed, go to the game, have beers, root their team on, have fun in the victory and the drama of it. But they're not going to go down there and get hit.
Right. It's a dirty game. I mean, it's a physical game.
Very physical, and it is a dirty game too.
Dirty game too, yeah.
See folk punching each other down there on the field,
Right.
trying to take you out, weaken you.
Well, I mean, have you learned anything over this past election? Anything new that you didn't know or learned from the previous time you ran? I mean,
We always learn stuff. You get to know people.
Right. But Stan, you was giving me some red flags on the show that you was talking to some people, I don't know if it was homeowners in Hartford, and they were just telling you how they weren't interested in some things. Something that you were saying a few months ago about when you was door knocking or campaigning, you was running across
People were that was reflected in the turnout. Everyone on the campaign trail talked about that. People are disengaged.
Yeah.
And they're becoming more and more disengaged. This could be very, very critical at the next election, which is the presidential election.
Right.
Where you see less and less people come out, particularly within the cities. Because if the cities don't turn out, then in theory, Democrat candidates have a harder time.
Well, back again to this mayoral election, the only thing I was saying, and I was close to being correct, I was saying maximum you're going to get about 10,000 registered voters.
Oh, it was way less than that.
Wait, it was just under 7,000. I think 6,900 or something.
Yeah.
Just under 7,000.
That's abysmal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the percentage would be, but that's lower than probably
Yeah,
could be the
14,
lowest.
13%.
Right. And then I was suggesting, and that's what I talked to Joe Markley about. It's going to take 5,000 registered votes to win the Hartford election, because I'm doing the observation or the math.
The First Cathedral has more more members than that.
Mm-hmm. Then it's 10,000.
No, than 5.
The 5,000, yes.
Right. In theory, if First Cathedral's members came out and vote, they could put somebody in office.
Right. And even the First Cathedral, all of the members don't attend regular service.
Right.
I mean, so
and they've got a, they have a buy-in. They're trying to get saved.
Right.
Have a relationship with the Creator of the world. And everybody doesn't go to church.
Exactly.
So if everybody doesn't go to church and their salvation is in the wing, why should they come out and vote? I mean, there's nobody going to heaven because they voted.
Right. Well, that's true. So.
People make voting as though it's somehow separate from every other action in life, and it just isn't.
Well, again, I think what you're doing with Nyesha, the civic education, because I learned civics when I was in school, and then I had family that taught me civics, involve civic education. So I had it on both sides. I learned it in school, and I learned it at home. So I knew automatically at 18, registered to vote, but I knew a lot of things about the voting process even before I graduated high school, because it was inside my home. Politics was talked about constantly. And then our school, Miss Birdie Cody, your
my ex-mother-in-law.
She took the student class
to Washington D.C. I was a chaperone on one of those trips.
Right. So I learned that. I didn't go, unfortunately, but I learned that still through her as a 6th grade teacher. Junior high school, it was talked about to some degree.
I've known Jonathan since he was in the sixth grade.
So again, if you're learning it now, I think what you're saying with the civic beat is you're going to get the people that just don't really understand about the importance in the educational process of civic. It's just like economics are not really taught in school.
Absolute economics is not taught in school. I mean, like you have to teach people how to open up. The value of a savings account. Work ethic isn't taught in school. I mean, kids go to school and then you have to have a remedial course which connects them to the value of a resume, showing up to work on time. If you don't go to work, calling in. Workplace competencies have to be taught to kids separate from school, because they're not. These concepts, ideas, and notions aren't part of the regular curriculum. So schools are more focused on socialization of things than they are on actually making young people prepared for the workplace as a whole. And I'd say that more about public education in the urban setting, because in the suburban settings, that is not the case. I challenge, we could probably go up to the Capitol sometime today. I'm not so sure about today, but and you'll see a group of kids. Now I live like 2 blocks from the Capitol, and every time I go by there are kids walking around because they're there on a tour. So the suburban schools send their children into Hartford so they could take a tour of the Capitol. There's no reason why Hartford youth aren't touring the Capitol and City Hall every single day. I mean, there should be a Capitol tour guide and a City Hall tour guide that work for the city or the Capitol, who just give tours to students. That's their number. That's their job, because there's such a demand for people to want to know how their city council works, how the mayor's office works, the corporation counsel's office works, the registrar of voters, the town clerk, what these people do and how they function. But then that means people are going to start to have an interest in government. They're going to want to know how it works, when things don't work, holding people accountable, because they have questions about that. But if they don't know, then they're not going to ask questions.
Right.
And that's unfortunately what we have.
We get into a real great, interesting conversation, but obviously, it's a certain time limit. But that's what kind of separates you from the other candidates. You see the vision beyond just the norm. You know, what you're saying about giving students a tour, I never even thought about that directly. I realize you have to get civically educated, but obviously if you're giving students the tour of city government, state government, and a lot of suburban kids come into the Connecticut Convention Center too. The Connecticut Science Center, so they're learning about science. These students are not from our public schools. Mostly that's going down to the science center.
Not in the Hartford public schools. They're from public schools. It's just not from Hartford public schools.
Exactly. So that's real critical that you can think like that, Stan, and you bring that type of knowledge because I didn't hear any of the other candidates mention anything like that.
Well, we talked about it, and I mean, these things are brought up on the campaign so that I can bring these things up, you know. But every time we run, we're ready to win.
To win, right.
Right. Don't get in a race if you're not ready to win.
Right.
And so our campaign is never one of like perfunctory, we're just throwing out ideas. We're in it to win. Now, whether or not we win remains to be seen.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do something, do it right. And have a plan. Be prepared to win because you could wind up winning.
Right.
Now what? So we're always prepared to win. We always have the team in place when we win. If we win, we're ready.
Right.
But yeah. So until I see a candidate step up to the bat, ready and willing and dedicated in my mind, because I'm not in charge of anyone else's mind, we'll run.
Right.
And we will spare no expense.
And obviously becoming mayor is the big goal to implement.
The mayor has the bully pulpit, and the mayor is the chief elected official of the city and can move agendas forward. Whether it's a baseball stadium or educating and providing for the people.
Right.
Yeah, the mayor can actually do these things.
Right.
Yeah, well, everyone else can't.
Mm-hmm.
They can add to the conversation. They can help move the needle, but they can't make these kinds of executive decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But the mayor can.
Well, again, this is going to be an interesting show, the Civic Beat. Then obviously that's something that's that's going to happen next Tuesday, right? Civic Beat.
Civic Beat should start next Tuesday. Yeah. And then, of course, at 9 o'clock, Cleo Duke Wright will be here. And then at about 9:45, Jonathan joins.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonathan and I will do our conversation. Then at 11 o'clock, we'll have special guests with Jonathan's. Jonathan does two shows. He does Face to Face, and he does All About You. All About You is a autobiographical program.
Right.
A biographical program about people. And Face to Face is more like a news.
Public
affairs news program. So, yeah, Jonathan, Cleo, and of course my wife are the three longest producers here.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Jonathan was in this room before it became a studio.
I remember the small report.
He did the small report. Actually, Jonathan helped me move.
I did help you move. Yep.
So Jonathan been in this house, literally been inside this building as long as I have.
Right.
So, yeah, he did the first show.
Yep, the small report, 2012.
Yep.
I think it was July the 3rd, 2012.
Wow.
And everything.
2012. This is 2023. So you've been there 11 years.
11 years. I mean, I took a little break after 2017, but then we came back. In 2020. And looking forward. Thank you for this show opportunity.
Hey, John.
We got a great guest this morning.
Yeah, in fact, that's right. So at 11 o'clock, Jonathan's got a super guest. Jonathan never ceases to amaze me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He never ceases to amaze me. Can I tell him who the guest is?
Isn't the golden rule always wait till the guests come on?
Well, at this point, the show's queued up. It's in the description. And everything, so.
Well, no problem. I don't think I'm going to get stood up.
Right. I don't think he gets stood up either.
I don't want to tell who the
Right. So if you're watching us live, okay, you want to tune in at 11 o'clock because Larry Holmes, former world heavyweight boxing champion, will be Jonathan's special guest. So childhood idol.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to being here and behind the scenes, of course, and hearing the conversation with you and Larry Holmes and Champ.
Yeah. The Easton Assassin.
The Easton Assassin.
I don't know if you're familiar with Easton, Pennsylvania.
Easton, Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Easton, Allentown, Easton, New Hope, Percy, Sellersville. Yeah, I grew up in Percy, Pennsylvania. I say Philly, but it's, everything 45 miles from Philly is Philly. Allentown is just outside of Philadelphia's orbit. Of course, Camden is right across the river from Philly.
Right.
It's not Philly.
New Jersey, Camden.
Yeah, no. No one wants to be from Camden. Though my son-in-law is from Camden.
Yeah. Camden is an interesting city. I think that's the headquarters for the Philadelphia 76ers. And I think the mayor, I was actually trying to book the mayor from Camden. Never could he was that mayor that I was always talking about. But Larry Holmes put Easton, Pennsylvania on the map.
On the map.
Technically, I never heard of that place.
All right.
That's to him.
Well, our time is up, Jonathan. So, thanks for coming in. It's good to see you, and I'll see you here next week.
Next week.
Yeah. So.
Likewise. Thank you again.
All right.
Okay.
All right, my friends. We'll see you next time. Y'all have a great rest of your day.